Hi, welcome to the Cemetery of Choice, where we look at abortion deaths from both the pre-legal era and the post-legal era. And this is August 1st, and there are three anniversaries we're looking at today. The first case was in Colorado. It was August 1st, 1922. It was a 27-year-old divorcee named Carrie, and she died at the county hospital in Denver. She'd been taken there after her friends realized that the care they were providing her wasn't going to help. And when she was first admitted, she tried to say she was suffering from ptomaine poisoning, but over the protests of her parents, an inquest was carried out, which linked her death to an abortion. Now, Carrie had been living in a rooming house as Carrie Healy with a chauffeur who was calling himself Ed Healy, but it turned out his name was really Ed Hanley. He reportedly had been planning to marry Carrie as soon as his divorce was finalized, but he left the boarding house several weeks before Carrie's death and hadn't been seen since. So evidently her married lover skipped out on her, which would explain why she wound up arranging this abortion. So different women were held by the police during the investigation because it was believed that they might have some information. And they said that Carrie told them that the abortion had been performed on July 7th, but they'd been sworn to secrecy as to the identity of the midwife who had perpetrated it. And Sadie Hines, a beautician who'd known Carrie for about a year, said that she'd spoken for weeks about arranging an abortion and had hit Sadie up for money, but Sadie wouldn't give her any. So after the abortion, Sadie said she had gone for a car ride with Carrie, who told her that the baby had been born alive and she'd heard it crying, and that they, whoever they was, had asked her if she wanted to see it. She'd said no. And after that, Carrie said she'd known nothing of the baby's whereabouts, but she got the impression that the baby had been killed shortly after birth. And this, sadly, is not an unusual thing for legal or illegal abortions. In fact, let's look at the era of illegal abortions. There's this guy, Amante Rungetti. He was a doctor. He was actually the first person ever sentenced to die in the electric chair in Illinois, and it was for the death of an abortion patient. And I think one of the factors that wound up getting him the death penalty was that witnesses reported that the baby had been born alive and that Rungetti had thrown the baby into the furnace. Now, he appealed. He was free on appeal and killed another woman. Why did they let these guys out? But, the throwing away a live baby was not something unique to this situation. And here, should go back to the beginning. I'm going to provide the link below. This is
On May 13th, 2013, Kermit Gosnell, a Pennsylvania abortion doctor, was convicted for murder in the deaths of several children. In that trial, witnesses testified that these babies survived abortions Gosnell was performing, after which he killed them outside the womb. Although the media, in concert with the American abortion lobby, is portraying this as an isolated situation, the pro-life movement has been aware of similar stories for years, and today, additional examples are beginning to emerge. On May 3, 2013, the following interviews were conducted with 3 recent employees of an abortion clinic located in a different state. Their real names are used in this production, but the identity of the doctor and his facility are being withheld to keep from compromising a criminal investigation into this matter.
Okay, now I'm not going to share the whole video because they don't show you anything graphic, but it is pretty gory what they talk about. And I know that the doctor in question was Douglas Carpin. I think he's closed his clinic down. Everything that these women describe is in keeping with either things that have been verified about Carpin, things that have happened in other abortion facilities. They describe the use of abortion instruments like the different kinds of forceps. So what they're reporting is very believable, and they did produce some photos of babies that they said had been born alive at the clinic. So I'm going to provide the link to this video so you can have a little bit more about that babies surviving abortions and then being killed afterward is something that continues in our safe and legal era. So, at any rate, the Fort Collins police helped the Denver police to search for Alma Dittman, age 52, who was suspected of having something to do with Carrie's death. So she was implicated by one of Carrie's friends, who later recanted her story and said she'd known nothing about the abortion. So Dittman was located and brought back for questioning. She said she'd been called into care for Carrie after self-induced abortion, and denied any knowledge of what happened to Carrie's baby. But a search for her home revealed surgical instruments. And I've been unable to determine the outcome of the case, but in a video I posted the other day, when I was doing research and looking for more information about Carrie's death, I found 4 other abortion deaths that were linked to Alma Dittman. She was not prosecuted for the first 4 deaths. The 5th one, she was being prosecuted for, and she committed suicide in the middle of the trial. Then the second death we look at today, this was a notorious abortionist in Montana in 1929, Gertrude Buchanan. And she might actually be somebody that the novel The Cider House Rules might have been kind of modeled after her, because she ran a not particularly sneaky abortion clinic and sold black market babies. She was an unsavory character. But on August 1st of 1929, a 22-year-old school teacher named Violet was found dead at a rooming house in a room she had been renting for several days. Her death certificate attributed her death to myocarditis, a heart condition, and it was signed by Gertrude Buchanan, who listed herself as the attending physician, even though she was a surgical nurse and a chiropractor, but not a physician. Now, Violet's father requested an inquest, which revealed that she died of complications of an induced abortion, which meant that Violet's death was a homicide. So a new death certificate was issued. Buchanan insisted that she'd only been called to Violet's bedside after her death, and that she just forgot to tell the coroner about the abortion. And interestingly, it was Buchanan who had sent Violet to that house to rent a room. And sometimes during that period, abortionists would have rooming houses where they would send their patients to stay. Kind of the way, what's his name, Milan Vooch would have women stay in his annex, which is he'd bring them to his house, or some of the late-term abortion providers have arrangements with local hotels where they will have a woman stay in a specific local hotel during her abortion. So this is kind of a prelude to that practice. So the undertaker, for some reason, would have been responsible for reporting a suspicious death, but said he didn't think there was anything suspicious about being told to take Violet's body out the back door of the house, which Buchanan was charged with 2 other abortion deaths, so that might be related to that. Now, there was no way to verify that Buchanan had actually performed the abortion, so she was censured for failing to notify the proper authorities about the death and for falsifying the death certificate. And the third death, I really, really know very little about. This was safe and legal in Michigan in 1991. A 28-year-old woman named Ingrid had her uterus perforated during a safe and legal abortion. She developed peritonitis, and she died at Botsford General Hospital on August 1st, 1991, several days after the abortion. Now, sources for a long time had listed a Dr. Kanu Varani as the abortionist, but some pro-life activists in Michigan said that it was actually a fellow named Roger Kusner who had done the fatal abortion. And when I looked up Dr. Varani, he's a medical examiner. So it's possible that at some point somebody saw Varani's name on some paperwork and thought that he was the abortionist rather than the medical examiner. And sometimes things do get a little messed up. For years, a woman named Inez Heron was listed as an abortion death, and it turned out that Inez was the woman's mother who had sued. The daughter's name was Morris, M-O-R-I-S. So somebody got confused, saw the Morris, thought maybe that was the father, and that the um, Inez being a woman's name was the proper name. It's just part of why I always dig and dig and dig, no matter how much information I have. I go looking for more to make sure that what I have is complete and accurate to the fullest extent possible.